Award winner. Chip is also the author of his recently published book, and it really chronicles his faith as well as his journey in many ways. He also is an active singer in the choir at Park Cities Baptist, and if you go online, you can get a snippet of one of his recent solos. So we did not ask him to sing today, but he definitely is very capable of that. Chip and his wife, Wendy, who's with us today, have been married 28 years, or is it 29 now? Almost 29. And they have two wonderful children, Benjamin, and who's 25, and Kate, who's 21. So, Chip, we'd like to welcome you to the podium and continue to eat your lunch. I know if you're like our table, we were talking too much to eat your lunch. So, Chip, welcome.
Thank you so much, Susan, and thank you to all of you for giving me this opportunity to share. I'm going to take the water and I'm going to stick it there. Hopefully I will not need it, but you just never know. A couple people might have noticed that I haven't been on Good Day the last couple of days. Remain calm. All is well. I tend to overbook myself. And so in the last few days, I've been really glowing and going and doing a whole bunch of things. And on Saturday, I had a marathon where I was speaking to the Texas Rangers Women's Club at an event in the middle of the day. Started my day on Saturday out with Toys for Tots in Mesquite. And then after that, was up in Frisco for the rest of the day doing the tree lighting ceremony up there. And as I was up at the tree lighting ceremony, I kept coughing every once in a while and then coughing a little more frequently. And on Sunday, I woke up with a fever. And so I said, honey, I can't go to church. I got this fever. I might as well go to the Breeze Care facility. And they said, well, we're going to do the little thing to like check and see if you've got like COVID or the flu. I'm like, well, you could do it, but there's no way it's going to be either one of those. I always get my flu shot and all that kind of stuff. Ding! Flu. Really? I'm like, that's not cool. But they said, all right, the good news is that when you have already had the flu shot, it's usually the symptoms aren't very severe. And she's right, within like 24 hours, I was feeling better, and my fever's been broken for like 48 hours. So I'm not contagious, I promise. But everybody at work, I have so many vacation days because I never use them. They said, just rest and take it off. So I have. So that's why you haven't seen me around. A lot of people wonder how I ended up in my job to begin with. And I thought I would just kind of start there and then kind of work through how God has just shaped my life. I grew up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Went to St. Mark's through the 8th grade, went to Trinity Christian Academy for high school, and then went a whole 35 miles west to TCU. And when I went to TCU, I really thought, because growing up, I was really big into sports. I also was raised in a home where they wanted us to try everything, and that included doing performances, singing, doing all that kind of stuff, whether it was with the St. Mark's Boys Choir when I was there, or at our church. I grew up actually at Northwest Bible Church, just down the street from ECBC. And in any case, I've never had a problem with being in front of people, performing in front of people. That's just always been something I've naturally had. But in any case, I thought going into college, I'm going to study, I'm going to become an English history professor and coach baseball. That just felt like it would be a really good fit for me at the time. But I took one radio, TV, film class my fall semester, and I was hooked. Because I was like, wow, I really think I could do this as a living. And you know what? I would love to be able to now maybe take my sports interests, especially baseball. I'm going to start honing my skills. I want to become the next Eric Nadel doing play-by-play for the Texas Rangers. Gonna happen. It's going to be great, he said. And so I kept studying, doing my thing. By my senior year in college, I tried out for and received the honor of doing play-by-play for the TCU baseball team on KTCU, and kept honing my skills. And then I had a sports internship at a local TV station. I continued to, gather that experience. And then the next thing that happens is you start sending out your resumes to try to maybe get a job, maybe at a minor league, team or something like that. So I sent something off to like the Midland Angels, for example. I think the Shreveport Captains were still in existence back then. And just trying to find, some place to get my foot in the door. And the only thing I got was a job in Mount Pleasant, Texas, as an overnight DJ at a country western station out there, which, believe it or not, had 50,000 watts of power. It's pretty powerful. It covers the whole Arklatex area. And I took the job because I could do play-by-play for the high school, keep just building the resume, doing that thing. First time I showed up to it, first night there, I will never forget it. The guy that I ended up, relieving of his duties, who did up till like 9 o'clock. Really nice guy, kind of a cross between Ross Perot and George W. Sr. Hi, how are you? We're so glad that you're here. It can be great to have you on board with us. Hang on a second, the song's getting ready to finish. Let me hang on. And he turns around and he starts making all these weird noises. I mean, everything, like crazy. And I'm just kind of like going, really? Then he gets up to the microphone. Song's ending. And he flips the switch. Click! You're listening to the K101 FM. You're holding back-to-back country favorites and lots of free money. That was the latest from Travis Tritt. Coming up, new song from Garth Brooks. I'm sorry, I messed up. I usually do pretty good at doing that, and I just get. But it was just like this crazy voice comes out of me, like, "How's that? Is that okay?" And I'm like, "Sure, yeah, it was, yeah." And that was my first experience out in the real world. I wasn't there very long, and then I got a job at the USA Radio Network, which is based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area at that time. I did sports. I kept doing the play-by-play. I'm sending out the resumes. I'm just plugging away. Just something's got to, at any point, somebody's going to, and it just never happened. I was doing high school play-by-play for the Rockwall Yellow Jackets for a season or two, and then did cable for the Allen Eagles football team because, football's king in Texas, and that's how you kind of cut your teeth. And it just wasn't happening. And I'm like, Lord, I don't know where I really need to go next. This job at the USA Radio Network, thank you for blessing me with that. It's not going anywhere either. There's no room for advancement. I don't see myself being an anchor here at this situation. And I just don't feel like you're in it. I just don't feel like you're in it, Lord. So, I'm just going to go take a job in the private sector, and if you want me in this business, you're going to make it happen. Nothing I can do. It's all you. And about 6 months later, I got a call from a friend of mine from college. And he said, "Hey, there's this job at Fox 4 that I think you'd be a perfect fit for." And here's the reason why he thought that. When I was in college, I didn't know if I was going to be great on air or not. So if I wanted to have a job in the business, I thought, well, I'll be a production major because I'll learn how to be an editor. I'll learn how to be an engineer. I'll learn how to do all the behind-the-scenes jobs so maybe I can plug in somewhere and be handy. And so he continued to explain this job. And he said, this job would entail you having to do multiple things at once. You'd be the reporter, you'd be the cameraman, you'd be the engineer, you'd be running a tape deck, and it would all be in a helicopter covering traffic and breaking news. And my response was, "Are you nuts? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of in my life. That's not at all what I had planned. That's not even in the right vicinity. That's just like crazy. You know I've never been in a helicopter ever, right?" But to appease him, I turned in what I had, and really all I had television-wise, and this is how crazy it was that I ended up at Fox 4. Because it's just not, it's so unorthodox, it's not even funny. It only has one thing and one thing only as far as the fingerprints on it. And that's God's, right? Because here it is, all I have on this resume is what I did in college and what I did in the internship at a TV station here, because I was a sports intern at Channel 11. That's it. And the resume footage, of me doing the play-by-play. That's it. That's all. So the next thing I know, I find out I'm in the final 10 out of hundreds of people that applied. I'm like, that's crazy. What? And then the next thing I know, I get a call. You're one of the 3 finalists, and we want to take you around in a helicopter and just see how you do. I'm like, that's probably a good idea. So I'm like, at least I'm going to get a free helicopter ride out of this. Take off. How many people have ever been in a boat before? A boat, just out on the water, All right, so when we took off and we started flying, I felt like I was in a boat. The air currents kind of like, hitting waves, you're just kind of bouncing around. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. Before I know it, 2 hours have passed, and it's time to go back in and land, and pilot pulls up to left field, just kind of hovering, and I know nothing about air-to-air talk or anything like that, and I start thinking to myself, well, it makes sense, all aircraft have to wait for the air traffic controllers to allow them to come into land. It makes sense. I gotta keep track of everything. We're hovering, just kind of enjoying the scenery. And the helicopter, the next thing I know, is pointing straight up in the air, and then it drops straight down. And about 100 feet or so off from the ground, probably 100 yards, probably about that. And pilot pulls up, lands like a feather on the tarmac. Pilot looks back at me, says, "Are you okay?" And I go, "Yeah." "What are you doing?" And it turns out that this is a test that they ran with all of the other candidates. And they said, "Dude, you didn't even say anything." And I'm like, "Well, what am I supposed to say?" We said, "Well, why didn't you freak out or something?" I said, "Well, golly, you're the pilot, right? And you worked really hard to get to your job. I'm sure you had to go through a whole lot of hours of training and everything else. So when I got in the helicopter, I'm trusting you know what you're doing. And if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down." And that's kind of had that in the back of my mind. I'm in God's hands anyway. If God wants to take me in the helicopter, I'm fine with that. Floored at that answer. And I really do believe that the way I responded to that is what ended up getting me my opportunity at Fox 4. And one thing led to another, and another, and the next thing I know, it's 29 years, and I'm still at Fox 4, still doing what I do. Discovered that the job that I did, especially in the helicopter, was play-by-play. It's just a different venue. Because unlike a baseball game, there are no parameters when it comes to a guy in a police chase. There are no parameters when it comes to a 5-alarm fire and the way that the firefighters are responding to it. There are no parameters when there is a standoff and some kind of shootout that goes on. And you take a couple of shots at you. They didn't hit us. There's no way you're going to hit us. Really? And stuff like that. It was a lot of adventures. It was a lot of fun. And it's amazing. God prepared me all that time for that job, but it wasn't what I had in mind. I had what I thought was going to be it. It's going to be awesome. What he had in mind was more awesome than I could possibly fathom. So much better. Now, it has come with its scares. One thing that we did have happen, and I was asked to kind of talk about it a little bit, was in 2007, summer of 2007, we were going to cover some breaking news. And we were flying just north of Joe Pool Lake, and we were just cruising right along. I'm talking to my pilot about how out in the middle of Joe Pool Lake they're supposed to build a couple of golf courses, because I'm a big golfer, I admit. And so that's kind of what's on my mind sometimes, and this is kind of one of those ways to pass the time. And the next thing you know, it felt like we got hit in the back of our helicopter, and all of a sudden all the bells and whistles just start going crazy. And when I got the job to begin with, when I actually got it, I went up with this pilot that I somehow impressed with my quietness. I went up with them as they practice auto rotation landings, which is basically when they take the helicopter and stick it into neutral and land without the use of the engine, and practice these emergency situations. Because when something bad happens like this, the pilot has about 5 seconds to figure out what went wrong and what measures to take in order to keep or give everybody in that chopper an opportunity to survive. And what they really loved about me and my quietness was the fact that if I wasted 4 of the 5 seconds going, oh my gosh, we're on the bells and whistles, what are you going to do now? Then we're probably done, right? So it was really cool to listen to the raw tape of that whole thing, because you hear me talking about the golf course stuff, and then all of a sudden, bells and whistles, dead silence in the chopper. Dead silence. And all I'm doing is pointing at open fields, because that's really all I can do to help. And pilot kind of takes it down, puts it in neutral, disengages the collective. And so you have the blades that are spinning freely, then they go down fast. They turn to kind of change your airspeed. When you make that turn, it kind of slows you down a little. And then when you go down and you're about 100 yards away from the ground, you're supposed to re-engage the collective. It's best if you land on concrete, of all things, because it will create what's called a ground effect, where when you re-engage the blades, it'll create this air pocket underneath you, and it will help you then go and land like that. Unfortunately, there's no concrete just north of Joe Pool Lake and just north of the dam, and the open field that we picked was not level, so that's bad. And there was no wind, and that's bad. And so when we came in to hit the ground, we literally hit the ground. Boom, hard. And the pilot did a great job, though, of keeping us level. And we landed smooth. If we would have come off at an angle, then it would have set the blades off funny to where they would come through the cockpit. And I'll just leave it there. And because y'all just ate. I mean, that'd be terrible. That's not cool. So in any case, that's what ended up happening. And we bounced and we rolled on our side. And I just remember the way that choppers are flown, the pilot actually sends front right. So kind of like you're in Great Britain or something like that, in a car or something. And so I'm like literally hanging like this with the shoulder harness and looking straight down at him. And he looks up to me and goes, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." Julita Hardy, who is a radio personality, in order to defray costs, because it's not cheap to fly helicopters, she did radio back in the back for KRLD and KVIL. And I asked her, "Are you okay?" She said, "I'm bleeding from my scalp, but I think I'm good." So then I opened up the door, pulled myself up, and I looked back towards the back of the helicopter, and we're on fire. And at that point, I kind of go into drill sergeant mode, because I'm like, we survived it to this point. I really don't want to blow up now. And I said, "Julie, you think you can walk?" She said, "Yes." I opened up the door. I said, "We're on fire. Let's go." Reached down, helped her up, got out, doing all that stuff. Lickety split. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Move, move, move. I mean, total drill sergeant city. What I wasn't registering was the fact that when I said we're on fire, the pilot calmly goes and kills the fuel switch, which at that point is going to kill the fire, but I'm just not thinking that way. We all get away from the ship, and it was just kind of one of those surreal moments where you've had something crazy happen, you're all just kind of like, was weird. And then I felt in my pocket, and it turned out that I had my phone. I never flew with my phone, ever. But for some reason, that day, I had it. Okay, we know what the reason was. It was because God wanted me to call my wife. Hey, honey, watching TV right now? No? That's good. So here's the deal. So we kind of had a hard landing. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of let you know. And by that time, she's got like the TV on, and we had become the news, right? And so like all the other ships were now all around us, circling us. The ship is obliterated. You can look it up, Foxford helicopter crash. I mean, it's bad. And she's like, that's not a hard landing. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. One of the biggest and the best thing about the whole scenario was that with Julie's case, I pulled her out. We got away from the ship. We had to hike up a steep incline, the dam, to get up to where the ambulance was. In any one of those steps that she took, she could have tripped, stumbled, anything. She never did. When we got in the ambulance and then to the hospital, turns out that she had a compression fracture of her C4 and C5. And if she would have taken one false step or moved in just one wrong way, everything could have just cratered, severed the spinal column. She would have been a paraplegic for life. God looking out for us in an amazing way. A lot of people go, well, then you must have stopped flying then. Oh no, I was test flying helicopters 3 days later, and I flew for another 14 or 15 months. It was actually in the recession of next year, of 2008, that we had to make some tough decisions, and that was to put the helicopter in mothballs, and that's where it ended up. But God had a plan, and He moved me into the studio. I had a who moved my cheese moment as I got kind of accustomed to that every day, and I've been in that position ever since. One of the things that was going on behind the scenes was family life. And I had all these preconceived notions of how family life was going to go. I married my best friend. We were going to have some kids. And in the holiday time of 1999, we found out that my wife was pregnant with our first child. Really excited. And I had, again, all these visions, man. This is going to be great. Going to have a golfing buddy. I'm going to have all these things. Going to be awesome. Going to be great. And about the end of the first trimester, we found out something was wrong with the baby. And I started going into the whole male, I can fix it kind of thoughts as I was driving to meet my wife at the doctor's office. And realized really quickly that I can't fix this. After a few of the preliminary tests, they told us that there's definitely going to be some challenges. It could be little, could be big. Don't know. We'll have to wait and see, and we'll just keep looking at it. And so we kind of just hung in there with it. We ended up a little down for a little while. We went and got comfort food from our favorite place, Snuffers, for comfort food. The cheese fries. After a couple of months of just praying, felt at peace, and just thought, okay, gonna be okay. And as we progressed along, everything seemed to be going good, and I'm like, okay, everything's gonna be fine. God's gonna make a way. This is gonna be awesome. I know you got this under control. And then about 2 weeks before our son was born, they wanted us to go to Parkland to do what's called an in utero MRI. Look at the baby through that way. And I don't want to give too much of the book away, but it basically, after the meeting, after the test was over and we were walking towards the waiting area where we were going to get the results, I knew we were going to be in trouble when one of the people from the radiology department, as we were walking by, you could hear him.
Hey, Phil! Phil! Come here! You gotta look at this!
And I knew he was talking about our situation. Radiologist came in, the head of the radiology department at the time, or of that shift. I came in and did a wet read of the situation and said, what you have here is catastrophic. Your child is fine from here up. Everything down here is scrambled eggs. That's how they referred to it and showed us, like, we found one kidney, we think. I know that the amniocentesis came back XY, a boy. We can't find anything male about him. This is a train wreck. You need to go to Kansas right now, and you need to abort this. And at that moment in time, when she said those words, my response was, yeah, that's exactly what we need to do. Because, like, this is, she said catastrophic, it's awful. If he ends up even surviving the birth, I mean, he's going to have to go into all these surgeries, that's going to be awful. And then if he gets through all the surgeries, and he's, like, got this condition that's just really outrageously bad, oh man, he's going to be like, you know what? He's going to be the target of bullying when he grows up. Oh yeah, and he's just going to get hammered, and he's going to become mad at life. Yeah, he's going to become mad at God. He's going to be mad at his condition. He's going to just hate everything. He's going to be pushed away from God. You know what would be great? Let's just send him to God right now, and that way everything will be and literally in that whole thing that was going on in my brain, which was probably 1/1000th of a second, God intervened. And this voice went off. Who am I? And let's face it, I wasn't looking out for my kid's best interest. I just didn't want to go through what God had planned for me. I'm like, no way. This isn't what I planned on. This isn't what I asked for. And I found myself in a struggle. And I think we all find ourselves in this struggle each and every day. This is just a little bit more magnified, right? Where we have to figure out who's in control of our lives. Is it us or is it God? And if it's us, everything in response to what you do is chaos. And I'd love to tell you, even though I've gone through a bunch of crazy experiences, I still have days where I wake up and I put myself first. What a lug nut. But I do, and that's part of being human. And what I love about the fact that we have such an awesome God is that he still meets us where we're at. He still says, I love you. He still says, I care about you. He still says, I have a plan. Trust me. Trust me. We obviously went through with the pregnancy, and the book is about what happened. And it's not a book of, hey, look at me, aren't I great? I raised a kid with special needs. It is literally, look at what God did in spite of me. And I can tell you that I have a son who is now 25, who has every reason to be mad at life. Every reason to be mad at his condition. But he walks into a room every time, and he lights it up. He lights it up. Hey, I'm just happy to be here. And you're like, all right. And it's amazing. And he's inspirational. And he's just, Dad, I know I'm biased, but he's one awesome kid. In Isaiah 41:10, it says, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not fear. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will, he promises, you trust in him, I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you in my righteous right hand. And that is a lesson that I got to learn. And you know what I got to learn even more in this whole thing? Is that God had a special journey picked out just for me. An absolutely awesome journey to be on the front row through his development, through his young life, through his journey into adulthood, and to the man that he is today, to literally watch front row seat to a miracle in progress. And I look back on it now, just like I look back on my career and how I ended up where I'm at Fox 4. I was thinking one thing: God had something so much better. So much better. So I thank you for the opportunity to just tell you a little bit about my story, of how I ended up at Fox 4, and a little bit about the behind the scenes story. And if you are interested in reading the book, buckle up. We do have them available, and really appreciate Susan and Logos for being our first place that allowed us to come in. I self-published this book. I put my own money into this to a step of faith. God, I finished this book. You called me to write it. Here it is. And he's been blessing it every step of the way. And I just thank you again for the opportunity to tell you about it. And wish you all a very Merry Christmas.